Do you want to know the best nofap benefit that actually literally nobody talks about? I haven't really seen anybody talk about this. It's not that you'll be able to shoot lightning out of your fingers. It's not that you'll be able to suddenly levitate and that people and women will be able to smell the retention on you. I don't even know what that means, by the way, even though all these nofap videos say that. The best nofap benefit, one of the best nofap benefits, at least for me, that I experienced was it brought back the ability for me to see other people for who they really are. When I was addicted to porn, when I was addicted to masturbation, when I was gooning, right? When I was a chronic gooner, I could not see women and I could not see people for who they really were. I only saw them as objects. I'm gonna be completely honest. That's what I saw them as, and it makes sense. When you're watching porn every single day, you're getting a counterfeit version of the thing that you actually want. You're getting the reward without you're getting the result without the cost for it, because to be able to have intimacy and sex and love with another person, which is what you actually want, right? If we're completely honest, we watch porn because we want love, not just because sex. If you want to get that, you have to take a risk, right? It's actually kind of risky to actually get the real thing, because you need to go, you need to put yourself out there, you need to talk to other people, you need to be a regular human being, and that's a little bit difficult. So we turn to porn instead. When we watch porn, we're only seeing the end result, right? We're only seeing two people have sex. If we were to extrapolate that to real life, if we were to think about how it actually works in real life, most of the, well, maybe actually not most of the time these days, but how it should work is you go, you meet somebody, you go on a date, you go on a couple dates, you get to know them, and then you have sex with them. But you only do it because you you saw them for who they really were. You get to hopefully see underneath the surface a little bit to see who actually is this person. Who is this person? How is their character? How are their principles? How are their morals? How are their, like, what are their experiences? What are their stories? Right? When you're chronically watching porn, and when I was chronically watching porn and gooning, right? I could not do that. I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that in any of the relationships, any of the friendships that I had. And whenever I would see a woman, I remember this. I would just stare at them. I didn't even know that I was doing it, right? It was just an unconscious behavior, but whenever a woman would walk past, I just look at them. I wouldn't even say anything. I wouldn't go up to her. I wouldn't introduce myself, nothing. I just stare. I just look. And I think one of the things that you can catch if somebody's addicted to porn, or if somebody who is very, very lustful, you'll notice this, is that if you show them a picture of a pretty girl, for example, who is like objectively pretty, right? Who's objectively beautiful, who objectively is like attractive in a certain sense. If you show that to a person who struggles with lust or who struggles with porn, they're gonna look at you and they're gonna be like, "Oh no, this person's not that. He's not that attractive. This person's like a 4 out of 10." You know what I mean? And you show, like, I don't know, you show somebody like Anne Hathaway, for example. You show them that, and then they sit there and they're like, mid. You know what I mean? It's like they do absurd things like this. So that's one of the things that you can kind of use if you want to catch somebody who might be a little bit addicted to porn or a little bit lustful. Not a little bit, actually, a lot. But you lose your ability to see people when you watch porn. I know I did. And every single time that a woman would walk past, I would always lust after them. And I would have to, like, you'd have to remind yourself that, it's like, hey, that's an actual person, that's an actual human being. When I quit porn, like around 4 years, almost 4 years ago now, when I stopped doing any of that stuff, it brought back my ability to see people for who they really were. And this is by far one of the most underrated benefits when it comes to quitting porn, because the more porn that you look at, the more you goon, the lonelier you get. So in the moment you feel less lonely, right? Because you're watching a simulation of connection. You're watching a counterfeit version of the thing that you actually want. In the moment you might feel a little bit less lonely. But afterwards, how do you feel? You feel shameful, don't you? You feel regret. You feel, I know I felt this every single time that I would do it. I'd feel like, why did I do this? What have I done? Right? I would say these type of things in my head, and I can remember being so lonely during those times. I can remember feeling like I had nobody during that time. I remember like the friends that I had during that time period. I wouldn't even say they were my friends. Now it's like, again, no hate on them. It was just like a different chapter of life that I was in back then, right? But the friends that I had, I would only see them when we were playing games. I would only see them when we were playing video games, right? And they weren't exact. I don't even know if they were exactly my real friends, because the moment that I stopped playing games, the moment that I decided, like, you know what, I'm spending way too much time playing video games. I was spending like 9 hours, 10 hours a day sometimes just on the game. I'd be like, I don't want to do this anymore. Now, I don't know if I necessarily said I don't want to do this anymore, but over time I started to realize that I didn't want to play these games anymore. I wanted to improve my life, etc. When I started to do the good habits, like going to the gym, for example, I had less time to play games. And I realized that the people that I was playing games with were never really my friends, because they never really supported me in the things that I was doing. And they really, never really reached out afterwards. I would only see them really when I was playing video games. Afterwards, never saw them. And so I remember feeling so isolated during that period of time. Like I didn't necessarily have any one person to go to. And as well, during that time, you might relate to this. You see all the people at your school, they're getting girlfriends, they're getting in relationships, and you're sitting there, right? And you're wondering, like, why not me? When am I going to find my person? And that's a painful feeling. So what do? You turn to porn, you turn to masturbation, right? You do that because it makes you feel less lonely. But in doing that, you cannot see people for who they really are. And so it's like it's so like evil, really. It's so damaging what porn does, because a lot of us watch porn because we're lonely. The more porn we watch, the lonelier we get, because we isolate ourselves. It's usually like an isolating activity. We don't talk about it with other people as much. The more porn we watch, the lonelier we get. And in watching porn, we reduce our ability, we take away our ability to see other people for who they really are, to truly understand, like, hey, this person is not just the body that is in front of me. There's a whole soul underneath there. And if you actually want to be less lonely, you have to be able to see other people for who they really are. Because when you see other people for who they really are, you can then be seen by the other person for who you really are as well. And that's a skill that takes time to develop. But for me, I only developed that skill after I quit porn. And once I quit, my relationships, the type of relationships that I got, increased substantially in quality. I had such more like relationships that I never thought that I would have, with people that I would never have thought that I would be around. And the friends that I have now, they're good people. All of them are good people. And the only reason that I was able to get them is because I was able to see them for who they really are. I didn't just see like their physique or their body or anything. I saw their soul. I saw their experiences. I saw the pain that they went through. I saw their story. And I feel inspired by their story. And I only got that because I was able to quit porn and see other people for who they really were. And so I think that's like one of the biggest benefits that comes with quitting porn. I say nofap, right, just for the title, but that is so underrated, because then if you're somebody who's watching this and you're struggling with porn addiction, you gotta understand that it's not necessarily just about you. Like, you think you're trying to quit porn just for you, and you are, right? That is a component. That's a reason why you're trying to quit porn. But really, think about it like this: chances are, if you're watching this and if you can relate to me and you're watching these type of videos, you eventually want to become a father. You want to become a good man. You want to become somebody of character, somebody of virtue, somebody of honor, right? Your future wife, does she want a husband who watches porn? Your future son, does he want a father who goons every single day? Probably not, right? And if you do not do this, you will not be able to truly see other people, see your wife for who she really is, right? Not just her body, because if you're going to marry somebody, you can't just marry them for their body, you have to marry them for their soul. The only way you can view their soul is if you break this addiction, is if you quit porn fully. And so then it doesn't just become about you, right? Your why for quitting porn is not just about you. Even though that, yeah, it is still pretty important for you to quit porn for your own mental health and for your own development. It becomes a reason, or the reason that you have for why you should quit porn becomes stronger. Because you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for other people. You're doing it for your family, your future family, right? And I think like that's one of the best um, benefits that I've noticed recently as well. Like many years after I've been able to quit porn and stuff. And I'm not saying that I still don't struggle with lust. Of course I do. Like I still feel horny all the time because I'm a dude. And it's really difficult, especially in today's day and age where we only see the surface level of other people. We only see the Instagram highlights. You only see like the physique with the perfect lighting and the perfect pump and everything else. And when, especially like if you're addicted to porn, chances are you probably scroll a lot as well. When you're scrolling, very rarely is there ever any depth to the content. Now, the type of content that I might watch, like philosophy stuff and personal development stuff and business stuff, whatever, that has a lot more depth to it. The type of content that I was watching, like Fortnite content and like gaming content, and even like honestly just borderline porn on Instagram, right? You see that on Instagram. These women, they post God knows what. Very surface level. And so when you only see very surface level things, it trains your brain to have that ability to see surface level things everywhere else, not just your phone, not just social media, not just in porn, right? It generalizes across different domains, different parts of life. And it's really difficult, dude. It is really difficult. But I think that so many people these days, they feel unseen. They feel like nobody sees them for who they really are. They feel like nobody sees their heart, their soul. Nobody sees their struggles. And I think that one of the greatest gifts that you can give somebody, like, I feel like if you want to truly love someone, not just in a romantic sense, not just in like a platonic friendship sense, but just like to love a stranger, for example, right? To love your neighbor, for example, right? In the Bible and Christianity. How would you do that? Well, you would see them for who they really are, not just for who they portray themselves to be. The girl on Instagram who shows her body constantly, she might have self-image issues. She might have gotten like brutally abused by her father in the past. She might feel like she's not worthy enough. Right? Like that's the real story behind all these people, behind not all these people, but behind a lot of these people, right? And I think to be able to see that, to be able to hold it, right? To be able to not shun it away, not like prescribe a label on it or anything. That I think is one of the greatest gifts that you can give, is to be able to see other people's experiences and hear other people's stories and hardships. That, at least for me, has been one of the best benefits that has come from me quitting porn. So, hope this video helped you. Hope you learned something. And take care, bro.